Hello, fellow Magic players. I've been thinking a bit about the upcoming new mulligan rule that will be in effect from July 5th, 2019. But in our playgroup, we'll try to implement and test it before that. The Swedes have, at least in Stockholm, playtested it rather thoroughly, and they are, as far as I can tell, pretty excited about it. So I have no experience with that particular rule. It's, as far as I understand, a different mulligan rule where we draw 7 cards as usual, even when we mulligan, but then proceed to put X cards on the bottom of our library in any order, and the number of cards equals to the times we have mulliganed. So if we have mulliganed 2 times, we put 2 cards at the bottom of the library. So obviously this makes it much easier to sort of design your own hand and knowing to some extent what you're not going to draw. So on the positive side, I suppose this will make it so that we'll have less dead draws. We'll have less starting hands with mana starvation or mana flooding. Simply because using a mulligan with the new rules will handicap you less than the old rules. I believe that mulliganing below 6 in the old rules was always a bit dangerous. I mean, using the old Vancouver mulligan rules, I will happily mulligan down to 6 plus a scry if my opening hand is not explosive enough. But below 6 cards, I'm very reluctant. So this new rule, it also likely makes combo decks a lot stronger. It remains to be seen how much, but combo decks requires, as the name suggests, a combination of cards to function, and this makes it possible for them to get a better starting hand to combo off. In general, I believe that the Swedes have tried in the past couple of years to strengthen combo. Steps has been made to make it a stronger archetype anyway. The first I remember was the unrestriction of recall back in 2018, and now the unrestriction of Time Vault in 2019. And other major formats have made similar changes to their ban and restriction lists as far as I know. So if this new mulligan rule succeeds in this endeavor, this to me at least would make it more fun, as it will diversify the viable archetypes. And you can use combo deck even in a competitive environment or a semi-competitive environment now. But also, at least theoretically, see some risks in this new mulligan rule. My bet is it will strengthen power decks further, as you can mulligan for those key restricted power cards like Ancestral Recall or Draw 7s. There's also a place where you can use Moxes and Lotus and then Balance, or Wheel of Fortune, Time Twister. Sort of like the place I use in my deck. I believe it will strengthen my deck quite a bit, but the aspect of my deck that it strengthens is exactly the combo part that sometimes provide these completely bonkers starts that at worst can provide a non-game when I just start out with Rituals, Moxen, and Underworld Dreams into Mind Twister Wheel, or an early Mind Twist with sufficient power to back it up. This could be a case of making the strong stronger in this case, as people with power will have a higher incentive to mulligan and design a hand to just explode. But it remains to be seen if this is the case. This is all theoretical at this point. I also heard murmurings in different groups and debates that people think it will make sideboard even more important, as you can now mulligan for that key sideboard card. And I guess I agree on that, especially if you have a sideboard card that really wrecks the opponent. Like if I, for example, would mulligan in order to get a turn 1 Gloom out against a mono white deck. Or you could do the same with a turn 1 Karma. But I'm not even sure how much I'd mulligan for that. I mean, I'd definitely not go down to 3 cards just to get out a turn 1 Gloom, because then I'd be without anything to follow it up with. So to me, it doesn't seem that frightening that people will mulligan down for that single sideboard card, but perhaps I just lack imagination here. Perhaps there are some sideboard cards that will just wreck the game. City in a Bottle certainly comes to mind here, but then again, City in a Bottle is usually best played, not necessarily in the opening like Gloom, but can provide even more benefit when it's played mid to late game, when it can destroy a lot of Arabian Night permanents. Another thing worth considering is the use of Blackwise after game 1. If you have Blackwise in the main deck, I'd at this point probably suggest sideboarding them out. I have Blackwises sometimes in my own sideboard against control decks, and this might not be the best option now, as if your opponent knows that there's a risk of a turn 1 Blackwise from you, or a couple of them, they'll just mulligan down to perhaps 5 or 6 cards, but get a much better hand. Perhaps with Moxen and answers for it. So I think all in all, the predictions must be that this new mulligan rule will strengthen Wheel of Fortune, Time Twister, and all the other broken power cards like Ancestral Recall, Black Lotus, all the Moxes, Balance, Dark Rituals, stuff like that. Mind Twist, obviously. And it will weaken Blackwise. Likely it will make considerations of sideboarding a bit different, like it could be worth it to have more 1-off or 2-off of a sideboard card and then mulligan after it. But it has to be a very, very key sideboard card. So I'm very curious as to hear what other people are thinking about this. This is, as said, without any playtesting, and some of these perspectives are just from debates I've seen or participated in, and some of the things that I'll imagine might be the consequence of this new rule. All in all, I'm slightly positive on the change, as I think that the games where you're just completely mana screwed, or that where you have to mulligan down to 5 or 4 cards, are usually some pretty boring games. But so slightly optimistic, but also worried about the strengthening of decks that already have a lot of really powerful cards, and or strengthening the percentage of games that ends turn 1 because of some combination of cards or a very early Mind Twist. But it remains to be seen. These are exciting times to play Magic and to try and test this new game mechanic and rule. So happy gaming out there, and may you never be mana screwed. Thank you for watching.